So I first started the channel with a Galaxy Note 10 Plus and then moved over to an iPad Pro. And then when I really decided that the iPad Pro was slowing me down in my workflow and really wanted to start taking this YouTube thing more seriously, treat it more as a business venture, I picked up the M1 Macbook Pro, and to this day, this thing has been like my absolute best friend and one of the absolute best investments I've made, hands down. And I'm usually more of an Android guy, and my day job is a clinical therapist, and for this YouTube thing, handles all of my editing, back-end YouTube stuff incredibly well. But when I put down my M1 MacBook Pro for a week and just used the M3 Macbook Air for a lot of things, I kind of realized that you can pick up an M1 MacBook Pro for pretty similar spec as you can with the M3 MacBook Air. And so using this every single day as a daily driver laptop, there's a lot of nuance here, a lot of things I think you guys should know if you're looking to pick one up and looking to make a smart purchasing decision for yourself. And so we're gonna jump right in. If you guys are new here, my name is Dave and I do tech. Now, look at the Air series compared to the last two generations, right? You're getting between 20 and 35% improvements over the M2 and M1. The GPU section specifically, and around 20 to 60% improvements between the M2 and the M1. I mean, personally, I think for the average consumer, like probably most of you guys watching this, those numbers really don't mean anything. So practically speaking, what does that mean in terms of like everyday workflow, right? So for myself, for example, comparing like editing videos on this to my M1 MacBook Pro, the camera that I'm shooting on right now is a Sony a7 IV to give you guys an idea. A 6K picture cropped down to like a 4K resolution picture. A lot of data at the highest bitrate setting that you possibly can on this. And I threw in the same exact folder with files from a projector video that I did a long time ago. Still have that thing. We use it all the time. It's amazing. If I'm being honest, when I recorded that, I completely forgot to actually time the length of exporting process. But what I will say is that the M1 MacBook Pro is actually about 3% faster the entire duration of the exporting process than the M3 MacBook Air, which I still find pretty impressive on the M3 MacBook Air's part. And when the M1 MacBook Pro finished, the M3 MacBook Air came in at around 1 minute after of additional. Alexa, what's the notification?
One new notification. From Alexa News. From Fox. It's back to court for former President Trump.
Alexa, cancel. Don't want to make this review political. Exporting time, which if you ask me, I mean, that means this thing is getting pretty darn close for my original intended purpose for why I picked up an M1 MacBook Pro. That is super awesome. And something else that's more practical, like actual real world usage, not just numbers, is the actual file transferring, right? So me filming a lot of like really big file sizes on this camera and then transferring them over to my MacBook, that's something that I don't want to be waiting long periods of time for. Even when transferring files, those are nearly identical. And I would say on a day-to-day basis using this, it felt largely the same in that particular capacity. That being said, it exported pretty darn well, but the actual editing process, we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, when it comes to battery life, it's pretty darn awesome. It's one of those devices where I can pretty much very comfortably have it charged, say like in the morning, wake up, jump on a Zoom call with my supervisor for supervision meetings. I can write up notes for my clientele, go see my clients, come back, jot out some additional notes, write treatment plans, do research, or like do some back-end stuff for YouTube. And I know that the battery is going to last me pretty comfortably several days without having to worry about charging it again. I would say that it actually gets a bit more battery life on a day-to-day basis than my M1 MacBook Pro does. Probably by like a few hours, you're looking at like around 18 hours total for the M3 MacBook Air. My M1 MacBook Pro at this point in time is probably getting me around like 15 hours, so I can still go a few days without having to charge it, but it was noticeable that the M3 MacBook Air does last longer without having to charge as often. The caveat to that being, at least in my experience, is that when doing more of the heavy load things, right, like editing videos here for you guys on the channel, that the M1 MacBook Pro does not drain as quickly as the M3 MacBook Air does a lot of the periphery, normal everyday things really well and is really power and energy efficient. But when I do power up Final Cut Pro, it clips into the timeline, adding different transitions, effects, and things like that, I noticed that the percentage bar does seem to dip a bit quicker than on the M1 MacBook Pro. That's gonna be a marginal thing. I don't think it's a huge game-breaking difference, but something that I did notice in case you guys were wondering. For me, portability is really a huge thing, and it's the reason that I went with a MacBook versus say like an M Mini, right, where you kind of just hook it up and it basically becomes a desktop. I want something that I can take outside as well and do editing, type up my notes for my clientele, and I can tell you that with the 500 nits brightness here on the M3 Macbook Air, just like with the M2 and the M1, I can see everything that I need to see on the screen, even though it is a perfectly bright, sunny, blue sky day, no problem. Also guys, real quick, if you're enjoying the video, I have a goal this year of hitting 50,000 subscribers here on the channel by the end of the year, to work towards being a full-time content creator. I love doing this YouTube thing for you guys. So if you are enjoying the video, want to see more, thumbs up goes a long way to helping me out, and subscribing lets you hang around for the journey. And let me know in the comment section, say hey so I can say hey back. But back to your video. So over this last week, I would say, as it pertains to like editing, like entire timelines with different LUTs, music, animations, and effects. Performance-wise, the M3 MacBook Air performs amazingly well. That's one of those things that honestly for me was very surprising because I can genuinely say it handled pretty much everything that I was throwing at it in the timeline very well. That being said, it does get a bit hotter and throttle a bit quicker than the M1 Pro, and so you would have like a little bit of juddering, but I think contextually this needs to be pointed out, right? Again, I'm using a high-end camera. Most people are not going to be using them. The people that are more than likely already using like an M2 Pro or an M3 Pro, right? Or the Max. And so for your average common person, you're looking for an Air that is like, say, a bit lighter, but can still do some editing, right? Say for like your college course, or if you're looking to sort of like indie films and things like that. The M3 MacBook Air has been like really surprisingly good in a lot of those aspects. The keyboard and the trackpad and stuff, all of that is still great the way that it has been for years now on every single MacBook product. There's not really a lot to say there. I will say that going from the 120 Hz refresh rate display on the M1 MacBook Pro over to like the 60 over on the M3 Air, when you jump from one to the other, immediately the difference is 100% noticeable and tangible. You feel it. But if you're just picking up an M3 Air, like the screen looks great and everything like feels great working through the operating system. Everything's very smooth. And so I wouldn't worry about that. Hey, look, keyboard, yes. Trackpad, yes. Screen, yes. Now for me, one of the things I think in terms of like practicality that matter a lot are that on the M1 MacBook Pro, right, you're getting the HDMI port, you're getting an extra USB-C port, and you're getting the SD card slot, which I use literally all of the time. And you're missing those things over here on the M3, right? 2 USB slots, and then of course you have like your audio port, but you have that over here on the M1 as well. And so you're missing a lot of things over on the M3 Air. I do have, from when I used to use my iPad, one second. You know what? I actually realized you can still hear me because I'm connected to my Rode Go. Where the heck is that dongle? I think I gave it to my sister. Shoot. All right, well, I'm coming back empty-handed. I actually gave it to my sister for her. She has a MacBook Air from like 2018, I think, and so she needed the extra ports. I gave that to her. But if you've seen like my old iPad videos, none of you guys have seen those. It's okay. I use it all the time. This is not an ad, it's from Anchor. I like their products, they make good stuff, but that has like an HDMI port and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can connect to your MacBook Air if you're looking for that. I'll have a link for that. Again, not an ad. I use it, you guys might like it. However, I will say that the M3 MacBook Air is able to have dual monitor support. That's something that I don't personally use basically ever. I have like my MacBook Pro on my desk and I have like my ultra wide setup upstairs, and I'll just kind of like transfer things back and forth. I 100% see why somebody would want that. You can't do that on the M1 MacBook Pro unless I'm missing something. You can on the M3 Air, and so that's a make or break deal for you. I mean, that's something you can only get over there. And also for gaming, the M1 MacBook Pro, my experience, is able to do a lot of really good gaming. You're actually able to get hardware accelerated ray tracing on the M3 MacBook Air. So for this video, I haven't had that tried out. There are other videos on YouTube though. A lot of people have been trying that out, playing like Death Stranding, for example, and you're able to get remarkable results for something like that's this thin, and at this price point, which is really darn impressive. At a later time for like a longer term review video, that's something that I'll probably cover, but for now, if you want gaming, it's pretty great over here, and in my experience on the M1 Macbook Pro, it's good as well. So my next video, I actually do have an M2 Macbook Air from last year in the same exact specs as the M3 that I have right here for you guys. I've been doing like a deep dive comparison of like the differences, and again, really the most important thing to me is the way that tech actually practically impacts your personal lifestyle, right? And so kind of like looking at the nuances of that. I'll have that probably next week, but thank you guys so much again for stopping by and hanging out. Let me know if you are going for an M3 or if you guys are going for an M1 Pro because you want the extra ports, you want some of the additional speeds and the editing power, right, without having to necessarily break the bank, because you can get it for pretty close to the pricing of this here. I love this thing a ton. Again, one of the absolute best investments that I've ever made. If you want to support the channel at no extra additional cost to you, I have some links in the description down below that you guys can utilize. But outside of that, thank you guys so much again for stopping by and hanging out. I wish you a fantastic remainder of your day, afternoon, or night, depending on the time that you're watching this. And as always, peace, love, and adios. Bye guys, and have a great day.